At the beginning of the 20th century, one architect built an entire world out of squares. From private villas and public housing to armchairs, tables, and tableware, Josef Hoffmann designed more than 1,000 objects. His peer nicknamed him Square Hoffmann for his devotion to cubic forms. He said these forms are intelligible to everyone and had never appeared in previous styles. But to understand why the square felt so radical at this time, we need to look at the Vienna at the end of the 19th century, when neoclassicism was still promoted by the monarchy and represented by architecture along the Grand Boulevard. Born in 1870 in Borgness, a small historic town with a population of about 5,000 in what is now the Czech Republic, Josef Hoffmann moved to Vienna in 1892 to study at the Academy of Fine Arts. There he met his teacher and mentor Otto Wagner, who was leading figure of Vienna's Art Nouveau and also who profoundly shaped Hoffmann's early development. Among Hoffmann's classmates, there were two interesting figures. One was his close colleague and collaborator Joseph Maria Olbrich, who later designed the Secession Building, completed in 1898, a radical structure that brought aesthetical scandal to Vienna, initially mocked as a golden cabbage. I talked about this building in my previous video, so please check out if you're interested. Another classmate was Adolf Loos, often described as Hoffmann's ideological opponent. Loos took a very different path, famously arguing against ornament in his 1910 essay Ornament and Crime. Loos' house, completed in 1912, provoked a different kind of controversy and was mocked as a sewer cover. In 1897, he became a founding member of the Secession Group, led by the artist Gustav Klimt. He started to independently contribute to its publication as well as designing exhibitions. Guided by the Secession's ambition to synthesize the different forms of art, Josef Hoffmann did not draw a strict boundary between fine arts and everyday objects. This pedestal, used multiple times in early Secession exhibitions, reflect that kind of mindset. He restrained details and relied on proportion to achieve clarity of purpose of this furniture. In the winter of 1900, Hoffmann curated the 8th Secession exhibition under the theme of art and craft. He designed the exhibition itself and presented his own furniture, already showing kind of preference for geometric ornament and square subdivisions. Among many rooms, the Scottish Tea Room, designed by a design duo/couple Charles Mackintosh and Margaret MacDonald, representing Scottish style, deeply influenced Hoffmann. These photos showing the Ingram Street Tea Room, designed by the same duo that year, reveal what Hoffmann saw as a potential. Floral motifs were carefully contained within squares and rectangles. Furnishings surrounding the room were vertically subdivided into rhythm. In the spring of 1902, the 14th Secession exhibition opened as a tribute to the composer Beethoven. Secession Building is basically the world's first white cube type modern gallery, so everything you see in these photos was intentional to construct a specific spatial mood. Hoffmann's role was more like an environmental designer in current days, who oversees the theatrical and curated experience. Rectilinear furnishings and square motifs began to appear more confidently, carved, painted, and layered into the space. And this is one of the Hoffmann's well-known decorations, the plaster relief above the entry portal to Beethoven's Frieze room. By the time he turned 30 in 1901, Hoffmann was already regarded as a rising star architect and began receiving villa commissions from affluent clients. The villas allowed him to fully explore square motifs in both interior and exterior design. Not the decoration itself that mattered most, but the control over geometries and linking every element of their interior. In addition to building commissions, Hoffmann co-founded an ambitious furniture and product design business. The venture was financed by the wealthy banker Fritz Wonderfor. They called it Vienna Workshop, and their style, often described as structured ornamentation, was regarded as a precursor of modern design, influencing later design movements like Bauhaus. Hoffmann adopted geometric construction and integrated ornamentation to give practical and appropriate forms. The Cobos chair, introduced in 1910, is one of its most iconic pieces, a pure cubic volume articulated through a square stitching. Completed in 1905, the sanatorium marked the most complete architectural expression of Hoffmann's square world, largely executed by his own workshop. It functioned more like a luxurious retreat for wealthy clients for mineral bath, therapeutic treatments, and leisure activities like music and card games. From landscape fences to enclosed side access corridors, from window subdivisions to tiled frame edges, every element followed a strict geometric order, and that logic continued inside. Reinforced concrete beams were expressed with varying spacing, responding to the different sizes of each room. Floors, railing, furniture, lamps, and even bed frames aligned with the same governing system. By continuously breaking large forms into human-scaled units and repeating cubic themes, Hoffmann softened monumentality and scale, and his cubic world became a calming pattern. I thought it worked especially well for the sanatorium function, a place meant to promote calm and recovery and avoid tensions and kind of spatial surprises. It reminds me of why brick has long been favored in residential buildings, as brick carries the scales of the hand laid one by one. Even when not truly hand-laid bricks these days, but rather larger tile applied to walls behind. Hoffmann achieved something similar with his disciplined use of squares. What makes Hoffmann so remarkable is not simply his obsession with squares and cubes, but his ability to synthesize the movements happened around him. Otto Wagner's Art Nouveau, Scottish art and craft movement, and Vienna secession group's idea about the total work of art into his unique language within just a few formative years. After the First World War, as architectural culture shifted toward stricter rationalism and fast reconstruction, Hoffmann turned to public housing and more restrained forms. His workshop eventually closed in 1932, and he gradually joined the current of modernism. For Hoffmann, strict geometry was never about rigidity or abstraction. It was a way to structure holistic experience. In his hands, the square is about being humane.